Hey, so I decided to do a couple quick video clips so you can get a better idea of our construction techniques here. We're looking at about 22,000 square feet of aviary space, and we house anywhere from 50 to 80 birds of prey here at any given time. Weather is a big factor here. We live in Connecticut on the east coast of the United States, and temperature can fluctuate anywhere from over 100 degrees in the summer to 20 degrees below zero in the winter, which we had last week. And today it is right now 17 degrees here, and that is in Fahrenheit. And obviously weather plays a big factor in what we do here. So I'm going to take you inside our aviaries so you can get a better idea of how we do the construction. What we have here is what we call vestibule, and it's basically a hallway that helps contain the birds in case anybody ever gets out of their aviary. This is our first aviary with a raven Loki. Say hello, Loki. This is a shot of the door, 2x4 construction, and we have double latches on the door so they can never open without removing the wire. And you can open the first latch, and the top latch is just a flip latch, and the purpose of that is so that when you go inside you can close the door behind you, flip the latch down, and you're not locked in and the door is secure. This aviary here is 16 feet wide by 30 feet long. We have 3 black vultures and 3 red-tailed hawks in here, and as you can see, most of the construction is pressure treated lumber. So I start with concrete block. I lay out the aviary on the ground with string line, and I put the block in and bury the block about 12 inches into the ground. The block is 8 inches by 8 inches by 16 inches. Once the block is buried in the ground, we put the bottom plate on, which is a pressure treated 4x4 that spans between the blocks, as you can see. In here I put the blocks at almost about 8 feet apart, and they really should be a little bit closer. They should be about 6 feet for the 4x4. Off of the bottom plate we have intermediate studs that are also 4x4s that go up to the top plate, which is actually a 2x4, and behind the top plate there, that is a 2x6 box end. The rafters are also 2x6s, and they come down on an angle to help shed water and to help shed snow. And all the blocking you see in between the rafters there, that's for the corrugated roof panels. So on parts of the aviary we actually put roofs on so the birds can get out of the rain and out of the snow if they want. We use the corrugated roof panels for quite a few different things. We used to use plywood, and we had problems with the plywood rotting and molding, which is not good for the birds, and it gets very expensive to keep replacing. So now we started replacing all the plywood with the corrugated panels. And as you can see there, this is an enclosure. It's about 6 feet wide and 4 feet deep, and that's just a spot where the birds can go in to get out of the rain and out of the wind, out of the snow, or get out of the view of the public when we have tours. We also put a 100-watt heat lamp in each one of the enclosures, so that gives them a little bit of heat in the winter. Now on the back wall here we have cross rails in the framing, and the cross rails go every 3 feet. And the purpose of the rail is for the wire. So the wire is 3 feet wide, so we put in the cross rails at 3 feet so we can nail the wire to the cross rail. And that's the purpose of the cross rails there. Another thing I want to point out is the type of wire that we use. And the wire here, see if I can get it on the video. The wire is vinyl coated galvanized hardware cloth. So it's galvanized wire that's dipped in vinyl. So in case any of the birds ever fly into the wire and grab onto it, it won't damage their toes or their feet or their talons. And you see the fabric on the back wall here. That has two purposes. One is to block the wind coming out of the northeast, and the other purposes again is to keep them out of the view of the public, so it gives them kind of a place to hide. In here we have not put the stone down on the ground yet, and if you take a look at the ground, this was grass and eventually turns to dirt, which eventually turns to mud, as you can see. And in the summer the mud actually starts to grow mold, which is also not good. So this aviary is being prepped right now to drop the pea gravel onto the ground. And as far as perching goes, we try to give them as much perching space as possible. A lot of these birds are non-flighted, so another important thing is to put in handicap ramps. Basically it's just perches from the ground up to the perches. In case any of the birds end up on the ground that can't fly up to the perches, they can walk up the handicap ramps. Those are pretty important. So I want to take you in to show you the substrate, or what we use for the ground. This is one of our raven aviaries. So we have 2 ravens in here. And as you can see, the ground is 3/4 inch pea gravel. So it's basically stone. You can see that. And it's about 2 or 3 inches deep or thick on the ground. What that does is it keeps the ground from getting muddy, keeps mosquitoes out, it keeps the mold from growing on the ground, which is also really important, and it makes it a lot easier to clean. So these are our water hydrants. Obviously we need to have running water down here, and it gets pretty difficult to keep these things from freezing up in the winter. So the pipe of the hydrant is actually wrapped in a heat tape, and that helps to keep it from freezing. We also cover them with styrofoam boxes, which helps to contain the heat inside where the hydrant is, to also keep it from freezing. Alright, so I want to show you what we call predator proof wire. This is the wire on the outside. So we're looking at the outside of the aviary here, and the wire on the outside, this wire here, goes down into the ground about 12 inches deep, and it actually comes out on a right angle 24 inches out. And what that does is it keeps any predators from coming up, digging the ground, and getting in underneath the aviaries. We've been doing this for about 10-12 years now, this technique, and we've never had a predator break into any of the aviaries. So one more thing I need to point out is our pet screening. So on the inside of the framing we put up screen, which is used for screen doors and screen windows, but this is fiberglass screening dipped in vinyl, so it's really strong, and it's made for pets, for cats and dogs, and it works really well to keep the birds from hitting the wire. If they ever try to fly into the wire, they'll hit the screen first, and it actually has some give, so they hit the screen and they either bounce off of it or they grab onto it, and because it's just fiberglass and vinyl, it doesn't damage their feet or their talons, so that's pretty important to know. We also have a 100 amp heat panel down here to supply power, and this is actually fed from the house. We have 3 20 amp breakers. One is for 28 heat sources we have down here. One is for 14 outlets that we have down here, and one breaker is for our lights. Quite a few lights down here. So this is a 110 amp service, and that feeds the aviaries. The idea with the aviaries is to make them as open as possible so that the birds can actually have some avian enrichment. They can see the trees, they can feel the wind, they can get in the rain, they can experience the elements. And as you can see now, we have very little snow on the ground, and it's February 2nd. And usually this time of year we have at least a foot of snow on the ground. Sometimes this time of the year we're looking at 2 or 3 feet of snow, and we're just buried at this point. But fortunately this year we have not had a lot of snow yet. So that's really the basics of the construction here. There's quite a bit more that we could go over, and obviously if you have any questions, just shoot me an email. And really excited about what you guys are doing there. I want to wish you the best of luck, and any way that we could help out at all, just let us know. Good luck.